back to the restoration of VIN 5222, episode 4. So this is sort of a 9-month overview of what's been going on since the last video. So we'll start off at the back, and as you can see, it's a lot different from how it looked about 2-3 weeks ago in video time. So we'll start off at the back here. So as you can see, we've installed this lower heat shielding that also supports the rear fascia with them bolts there. That's been freshly powder coated in grey. The rear reinforcement panels on, including a couple of add-on extras like a reverse camera here and Eurotech DeLorean Club's reversing parking sensor, which is about 90% wired up. The only thing that's left is to put the aerial in on the rear fascia and then put that back on. Still got some testing work to do on this latch, but can't do that because the engine cover is still broken, which will be repaired in a couple of days, freshly cleaned up and everything else. I'm currently working on removing this unit here, which I can't remember what it is called, but it basically controls how much airflow gets into the airbox. Ignore the return stovepipe thing, but basically I'm going to put the performance air intake onto here. Now I'm keeping this bracket around just in case I need it to support it, so that's that. Stainless heat shield there. And in regards to the issues with the cold starting, basically we've richened the fuel up to a point where it will start on about 2 key turns, whereas before it wasn't starting until like 15-16 turns. So but it still has an idle hunt, which was sort of eliminated when it took about 17 odd tries to start. Basically it's down to the CPR here, which needs a bit of a tune up to make the build pressure faster, I think, from what I've been told. So that's a last off job because the thermotime switch is broken. We know that the cold start injector works because of when I went to view the car, it was used to keep the engine running, but this is broken. The connector unit is broken, so it doesn't work, which is why it's having the cold start problem. As well, moving over to here, you can see here the video cable for the reverse camera has been mounted into the bulkhead panel, which I'll show you on the other side, and also the louver support buffers have gone in. So as far as I'm concerned, the whole engine bay is pretty much finished. All that's left is fascia, engine cover, louvers, and the air intake, and that's it. Also the power, I also did replace the power aerial, which isn't fully wired up because I'm missing the harness on the other side. So we'll go around to the passenger side. I've started fitting these side markers. I'm missing the one up the front because I've not got the 2 screw retaining nuts. So moving on to the interior, as you can see, it's still in about 50 million odd pieces and wiring, but here you can see a dash cam hardline and a reverse camera wiring. So that's what's there. So dashcam hardline, reverse camera for the display unit there, and then obviously the dome light. There's our new radio, which is pre-owned, but you know, full new speakers at the rear. I do have the front ones, but obviously no dashboard, so they can't go in. Under here you can see that unit there is for the dash cam, for the basically integrated unit, so it's all built in, hence why this is now cut like this. So I do apologise for butchering a perfectly clean and well, not clean but intact fuse box unit for those purists among us. As well, we've got the heater box out, which I have all the parts for and is ready to go back in because the coolant lines that connect up to it are leaking, which is not great. because they are sort of bridged together with a 11mm socket for the time being. So that's that. In terms of the doors, they've got a full new electric window motor and a different lock solenoid from the equivalent lock solenoid from a Jaguar XJS, I think, but that's how you can tell the difference in the wiring, because this here is the DeLorean, is the factory wiring, and that's the Jaguar one. So all that is in and is all working fine. I do have an issue with this window not going sort of down all the way. It sort of stops about there and can get stuck on something, but I don't entirely know what, because you can't really see it. So that'll be a job for another day. Windscreen has been replaced, which I didn't film because we were sort of in a bit of a rush because the guy was really busy. But basically, my old windscreen had a massive crack around the rear view mirror, clearly because of it was probably pulled off, and they tried to stick it back on because we found a load of like Gorilla Glue, like super glue, around it. Well, we managed to pull it off, so that shows it was glued back on, caused it to crack. Now, in regards to this, I did put a few posts on the forums and on Facebook a few weeks back asking people's opinion on it. I'm going to leave it as stainless for the time being, just because I have a few ideas I want to try and throw at it, like instead of the sun banner sort of thing here that have like DeLorean written on it and things like that, I'm going to try and potentially do something with this instead. Have like, I don't know, a similar sort of thing over the top, like DeLorean written on this rather than over the window, because the visibility is not exactly the greatest. And again, this is what I was on about. The retaining nuts on here are missing, so that's why this side marker's not on yet, but all the rest of them are. Moving on to the front, we are still missing the front fascia, crumple bar and the lights, but due to the amount of space I have in my garage, I can't exactly put them in yet. All the light connectors have all been cleaned up. Not entirely sure whether they all work yet. I mean, this won't because the ground connector broke off when I tried to clean it, but it's fine. Yeah, so going along there. All this for the hood light is all done, that all works. So coming around to the side that has had all the brunt of life. Behind here, as you can see here, there are a couple of holes. There's a few along this bit here. Now, as you've seen in probably a load of my posts and everything on Facebook, all this side was all bashed in, as you can see it all there. So this was taken off, stripped and regrained by Chris Nicholson, by the previous owner. So it looks really nice and clean. All that's left really for him to do is the hood, both doors and this panel. So move around to in here. So in regards to the dashboard, everything works bar the speedo for the time being as common, and my oil pressure gauge doesn't work. It did, but the oil pressure sender gauge unit is broken, and it was only just working because the oil pressure gauge would jump all the way up to full pressure when it's usually meant to not do that. It's usually meant to sit around there somewhere. So it's never worked fully. It's not been accurate, but it has come on. You can see everything sort of buzzes into life a bit. Surprisingly, this car's only done 30,000 miles, which is not a lot, but in comparison to my car there, which has done 40,000, it's not a whole lot in comparison to the age of both cars. So, as well, this car is a 3-speed auto. It does all work, as it's all been tested. Not really sure how it copes with proper driving, because the most I've done is driven it up that way, as you've seen on one video that I posted, and it's about 500 meters, something like that, so it's not even enough to get it up to full speed. But it does all work. A lot of all this does work. I mean, the radio harness and everything all works, apart from the fact that it's mostly dismantled at the moment because I've still got the front speakers to fit. As well, I've also got a hands-free microphone, if my camera will focus. It won't, but down here is all the wiring for it, because my radio is hands-free compatible, so it's basically just making the car a bit more modernised without really doing much in the way of harming it. So we will quickly show you up front. So as you can see, the frunk or trunk light works. Main problem is the underside of here is all red, so eventually this hood's going to have to come off, have the hood seal changed, a couple of these bolts changed for the stoppers, and probably paint the whole thing once I've removed all the carpet as well. But under here we just have basically the vapour seals, one tail light because the other one had the orange amber lenses painted, grille, storage cupboard, door and backing to the seat. A few things that were done by the previous owner was this: the brake master cylinder had been replaced and it's all fully functional, brand new. We do have a spare wheel hiding under all this here, if I can show you. There. As much as impractical it actually can be. So yeah, so there's not really a whole lot in here because a lot of it has come out. I mean, the stainless heat shield was sat in here and a couple of other parts which I've moved about. So as well, the doors are the same work done to as the passenger side with a bit extra. So if I've got a photo of it still, there was a massive mouse nest hiding in the bottom of this door. So I couldn't really see it with all this still in place. But eventually I uncovered it, and believe me, it was a mess back here. So with the mouse nest being along all the bottom of here, I had to replace one door light completely because they chewed through that much of the harness. It was never going to be repairable. And one connector and a piece of the wiring off of this one. Now, yes, I've got the lenses the other way around, but you get the idea. A couple of these lock rods as well were all a bit shot, but they weren't shot to the point where I had to replace them. The only thing that is shot beyond repair is this nut here, not this screw, which holds the bell crank housing in place, but it's holding strong, so I'm going to leave it be unless it becomes a problem. And again, new lock solenoid as well, new window motor. This piece has all been completely repainted, same as the other side, and the locks and everything all work. So I'll show you all the damage. So as you can see, everything's perfectly fine up until this very obvious scuff mark. So from this point onwards, the paint, the stainless gets more and more damaged as it goes along. Eventually, like here and a couple of bits down here, and then obviously getting onto the main damage point. But as well, I've also changed all the door handles to the metal ones from DeLorean Go, and these work quite well, apart from the fact I've had to add a spring onto both internal ends. But yeah, so in regards to all this, it's a mess. I mean, it's creased in here, holes drilled all along here that are all full of filler. This bit here is my main concern, where it's like this. But Chris Nicholson says he can sort it, so I have faith in the wizard. Another thing to mention is the rear wheels. Now, this also applies to the front, but the rear wheels had these really nasty, rusty wire wheels that I think one other DeLorean has on in America. I'm not sure whose it is, but I'm sure someone will know who it is that I'm talking about. But basically, the fronts have a little bit of a different story with them. Basically, they had all the studs chopped off and had new hubs and everything all fitted to them to fit these wire wheels. Now, the previous owner who I bought the car off has completely refurbished the whole front braking system, so new calipers, new discs, new hubs, everything. So that whole front end is all nice and shiny and new. On here, there was a hub adapter, which basically made the wheels sit this much further out from the car. And luckily, all the studs were still intact for the originals, along with the really thin spacer. So what we did is we took the old wire wheels off and pulled the hub off and managed to sell them to a guy who was fitting them to an MG, like MG midget or something, I remember him saying. We took both brake calipers off and the handbrakes, put new brake lines in once we found out that my old ones had crumbled on the inside. New pads for all, fully cleaned, new pistons, and a couple of other new bits that tendency to break, and then put the original wheels back on. Luckily, I didn't have to go sourcing for these. These were all shipped with the car over from America to the last owner to me. So that's all sorted. Plus new tyres all round as well. So another thing I've been working on now is the fuel tank closing panel. Now this was all freshly powder coated and everything, and brand new, with almost virtually brand new, with brand new bolts going through them. Now once I took the heater box out, and now that the 11mm socket that's bridging the two coolant pipes together is, I think, starting to perish. So it started to leak all over this, which is annoying because I've now got to get this sandblasted and re-powder coated. As you can see, it's like started to bubble the paint here. A lot of this is paint I've ripped off just to try and make sure it hadn't rusted through. Obviously, as you can see, it pooled mostly down here. Now my plan is, and I've seen this because someone was advertising a stainless steel one of these for sale with like loads of slits cut in it for drainage. So my plan is to potentially either cut a slit down the bottom of here, or drill a couple of holes all the way up this to make it sort of like a grid before I get it re-powder coated, because then I don't have to cut through new powder coating or anything. So it'll save me a whole load of hassle there. And I may drill like a few small drainage holes around here, only like a couple of mil big, just so anything excess gets trapped between the panel and the frame can just find its way out. But yeah, I mean, apart from that, all that's left really is the trailing arm bolts, and well, the trailing arm bolts to replace. The drive shafts need rebooting. My interior needs to go back in, and a handful of other things. So, according to my nice handy dandy list, this is a brief summary of what needs doing. There are odd bits in between this, like with certain parts. Like if I was doing the trailing arm shields now, I'd get I need new brackets for, but I've already made them. And like I say, with the aerial, I've got the main part of the harness for it going from the aerial itself to the clear relay by the ignition ECU, but then after that I've got nothing. So I'm going to have to speak to the owner of 5219, Ryan Harvey, and probably get him to come down, so probably get him to join up with me at some point, and then we'll probably build my harness to what his is. But that's something that I don't need because I'll be using Bluetooth and things like that for the time being, so all the wiring for it's in and everything, but it just won't come up and down, which isn't a big deal for the time being. So yeah. Other than that, a lot of this, like the oil change and filter, that's for like final finishing before the MOT and everything. So a couple of these bits are for last off, so like all the lights are for last off. So yeah. So next video will probably be this thing being finished, potentially. I mean, I'm trying to do these like once a week, so I do apologise for having a couple of weeks delay. I mean, I'm trying to get through a load of this for finishing for the end of this month, because it is currently the 6th of May. So yeah, so I'm trying to get this car done for June, because we've got I've got the Isle of Man Southern 100 to go to, and I'm hoping to try and get 5222 to get there. If not, it'll be this, which is, as you've probably seen on the TikTok I posted on Facebook, is the DMC Fiesta. Not really, it's just a joke. Not really, because we all hate Ty DeLorean, because, yeah. But hopefully, the Isle of Man Southern 100 in July, down to Cornwall for the Royal Fowey car show in August, then whatever other car shows in between then, like the Little John in Ravenshead, and the NEC in November, I think, and whatever else I can get to in between then. So yeah, let's just hope I can make it in time for mostly the Isle of Man Southern 100. So when I get there, what I'm hoping to do is spend the 2 days watching the race, and then probably do a video of me doing like not like a time attack, but just a lap of the Isle of Man circuit, because I know there is a DeLorean that lives in the Isle of Man, but it's currently in a museum as far as I'm aware. So it'd be the first DeLorean to actually officially record going around the Isle of Man TT circuit as best I can, bearing in mind traffic and everything's still going to be driving. So yeah, that's it. So I hope you have all enjoyed, and I will see you when this car's pretty much finished.